Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. Today we shall be learning how to draft a dartless corset or transparent cup corset. So for dartless cup corset, you can do it on a fabric, or you can use your corset mesh or your skin tone net to sew it. Totally depends on your preference. So but for this particular class, I'll be using a corset mesh, and I'm actually making this for my clients. So I'll be working with real measurements here, which is my client's measurement. So if you're making yours, make use of your own measurements. So here I have my two cups here. So these are cup 38. So this one is not a push-up cup, as you can see, but if you're making use of this type of cup, you will have to dart the under bust, okay, so that it will have volume. Okay, can you see after taking in this dart, this is what the other side looks like. So it will give you this volume, like a hollow here, so that your bust can go in very well, and you can use it to draft this pattern. Okay, so it depends on the one you have available. Either this or this push-up bra cup works perfectly fine. Now this corset we'll be drafting is for bust 38, but here I'm using cup 40. Now if you want to work with cup 38, you can actually work with cup 38 too, but the only difference is that it will reveal your cleavage. Okay, so this is cup 38. So for a client that doesn't want something revealing, you can go 2 inches above their bust measurement. So I can use this 38 to work for my client, and it will still come out fine, but she might have a lot of breast showing, and because we do not want a lot of revealing, cleavage revealing, or a lot of her breast showing, so I decided to go with cup 40. So if you're working with yours, you can either use this, if this is what you are able to get in your local market, you can use this and then that is at the under bust and follow all the techniques I'll be using here. Or if you're able to see this, you can go up by 2 inches above your client's bust measurement, or you can use their exact measurement. The only thing is that the exact measurement might be too small for the person, and it will reveal you have the breast popping out and all of that. So I always like or love to go up 2 inches above. Then if a client says, okay, well, I want something that is revealing, then you can use the person's exact cup measurements. On this pattern here, as you can see, I've imputed my client's measurements. So here is my starting line, and this part is my starting line also. So from the shoulder, which is here, to here is my chest line, and the chest line is bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 plus 1 inch for shoulder slope. And here is her bust point, her under bust, the waist. Then this is my corset length, the top length for my corset. And then here I have the shoulder to the hip line. Okay, now this hip line is not really necessary, but the only reason we have it is for us to be able to get the circumference of the corset top length accurately. A lot of times we are not able to take this circumference accurately on the body of our client, so you just use the hip. By the time you are done drafting, you get your top length, and then you do your final alterations here. Okay, so I've also gone ahead and marked the armhole. I do not need this part, but the only reason I added it is for those that might want to add yoke to their own, so you just be able to trace it out and cut out your yoke. So now the bust measurement I am working with is bust 38 divided by 4 is 9.75. It's 9.5, sorry. So from this center line, remember I said here is my starting line, so I'm going to mark 9.5 inch, which is here. Then on the waistline, the waist I'm working with is 31 inches. 31 divided by 4 is 7.75. So I'm going to mark 7.75. Now this client of mine, she has an hourglass shape or figure, because her waist is small, her bust is small, and her hip is actually big. The hip measurement is 50, yeah, and that is 12.5. When you divide it by 4, we are going to have 12.5 inches. Now On this waistline, I'm going to use a dotted line to connect it, because I'm still going to do alteration on the waistline. Or better still, you can do the alteration once and for all. So instead of just marking 2 lines here, I can just mark it once. So on the waistline, for our waist cinching, I'm going to come in here by half an inch. You can actually do 1 inch. Okay, so from here you can do half an inch. From the actual waistline here, you can come in by half an inch, or you can come in by 1 inch. At the, in fact, the highest you can come in is 1 inch, but for this person I'm going to use half an inch. Okay, so remember, this pattern is just half of the front, because if by the time you are going to cut out, we are cutting out on fold. So this half that I've taken in here is actually 1. All right, so I'm going to connect it this way. So if you are coming to my channel for the first time, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. Okay, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for watching my videos, the likes, the shares, the comments. I see it all, and I do not take it for granted, and I appreciate all of it. Okay, so now this is the original waist measurement, remember, but we've taken in half an inch for our waist tightening or for our waist cinching. All right, now the next thing here is to get the top length. Now this is my top length. Can you see? Because if I had measured the circumference of the top length, I may not be able to get the measurement I have here. So here I have about 9.5, so I may not be able to get it correctly. So that's why we'll use the hip line, then we'll get our top length, and it fits perfectly well, or sits perfectly well on our clients. Okay, so this is what I have. On this part, I'm going to go up by half an inch, because we don't want to have a sharp edge there. So I'll go up by half an inch, and I'll connect. So this is what we have for the top length. Now for the front part, before we bring in our cup, I'm going to go in here by half an inch. Okay, you can use 0.75. all right, but you need to study your clients' body anatomy to know if they have, because there are persons that have wide chest, and there are those that their chest is actually a bit closer. So you need to study your client's body anatomy to know if you are going to use 0.75 inch for them here, or you are going to use half an inch. So I'm just going to connect this like so. So this is my cup. So the next thing we are going to do is to get our cup style line. Now when you are working with this type of corset, which requires you using a ready-made cup, you do not need to keep it straight. Look at the way I kept it. Your cup doesn't need to look like this. Okay, you don't need to keep your cup this way. Your cup should be a bit slanted. Okay, now you can decide to go down by half an inch from the bust line. This is the bust line. I can decide to go down by half an inch. There are persons that want covering, they don't want something revealing them, then they will go up by half an inch here. But using the bust point line sits very well. Okay, I love the fit it gives, and this corset is actually a corset with bust bridge. It's not the one that has a plunge neckline. So I'll be using this bust point line for my bust bridge, which means that this point of my cup will be starting from here. Okay, and then I'm going to place it this way. Now when you place your cup, can you see the way it is here? This is the way this cup is, but I'm not going to leave it this way. I want this cup to have a bit of curve, which means I'm going to curve it in. Can you see the way I brought it in? I'm not like, I mean, just place it this way. Yes, you can use it like this, but your cup needs to have more volume. So now, in order to add volume to this cup, I'm going to compress it together a little bit, not too much. You don't come and compress it this way, just a little bit of pressure from this side. You are coming towards this way, so you are not adding pressure here, you are compressing from this side. So just allow this part to sit here. Okay, and then you bring in, you tilt it, make sure it is slanted or tilted to one side, and then I would bring it in a little bit. Can you see what I did? I brought it in a little bit, just a little. so that it will add volume to the cup. And then I'm going to trace it out. Now while tracing this out, you may not see the under bust. I don't know if my camera can capture it, but I pray it does. When you are tracing out this, let me check if it's capturing the under bust so you can see what I'm doing. I want us to be seeing what I'm doing at the under bust. So I've explained that the tip here must align to this bust point, okay, the half inch, where we mark the half inch. Now when you tilt it, there are some persons, their cup, I forgot to mention that from the shoulder to the under bust is 14 inches, but I marked 13 and a half, okay. So I always like to subtract few inches from my shoulder to under bust measurement. So if you tilt your cup this way, now this is cup 38, can you see it is not touching the under bust? Because I know some person will be like, it is not touching my under bust, what do I do? Can you see it is not touching the under bust? But the difference between the under bust and where your cup is sitting shouldn't be too much, because I have seen cases of whereby the cup is almost hanging above the, like it's hanging almost close to the almost at the nipple point, because the difference is too much. So like this one, I remember I've already taken out half an inch from this. Please, this is a full-time class. It's better you do not skip it. For those of us that might be like, you are explaining too much, it is a full-time class. These are some of the things most of us pay for, or pay for online classes or register online. So I'm giving it to us free. So do well to engage, and please do not skip the videos while watching it. So the difference shouldn't be too much, okay, because if the difference is too much, it's going to be obvious on your cup. And sometimes you find out that it also gives this kind of push-up effect, that the breast will always will be like it's popping out from the cup, okay. So here, if you are using a cup that is smaller, or let's say you are working with the actual measurement, mind you, if I had used half an inch from here, this cup will be sitting way up, okay, to be like maybe about about say 0.75 inch above the under bust, which is still okay. All right, so now the difference shouldn't be much. So I can trace this out if had it been I am using this cup. But because I'm not using this cup, I'm going to bring in the cup I'm using, which is this, and then I'm going to slant it. If you look at this cup, it touched the under bust. I have tilted it, I have slanted it, and it touched the under bust. So if your own doesn't touch the under bust, it is not an issue, as long as the difference is not too much. So what you are going to do, or what I'm going to do now, is to trace out. Remember to tilt your cup or compress your cup a little bit, so that it gives that kind of volume that your cup needs. So I'm going to start tracing from here, okay. Trace, and then I'm going to end here. So I've traced out. You can also decide to trace the upper part if you wish. For those of us that might be using yoke, I know you may not see it, but when you are drafting yours, you can trace out. Just follow the curve of your cup and trace out. So this is where it ends. I'm going to take note of this part. So this is what I have. Can you see the way it's looking? So ignore this part. I'm just going to erase it. It's not even clear. You may not even see it, but I can see it. For those of us that might need yoke. So this is what I have. After tracing out, this is what I have. I'm going to trace it again so that I will have a more clearer shape. But then again, this cup, I'm still going to make a slight alteration on it. But let me just trace it out so that you all can see what we have. So this is what we have, okay. So this is where it stopped, right here. Now remember, I compressed this cup a little. Remember, I compressed it in. You can even compress it more, it depends on you, but I'm okay with this second line that I drew now. So I don't want my cup to come in this way, because I know if you've seen online, there are some corsets, after sewing it, the cup will be coming towards this way. I do not like it. That's my preference though. You can make yours that way, it's fine. So what I do here is to add it up this way. Can you see the way I just brought in my ruler, and then I'm going to mark it up like this. Can you see? So this, you can add it up on your cup by the side. So this particular V shape that we have here, you can trace it out on a pattern and then add it by the side of your cup so that it completes it, or you can leave it that way. For me, I do leave it this way. I do cut out like this. I don't add that excess or that extra that I'm supposed to add up here. I do not add it. It doesn't affect the cup though by the time I sew. So this is basically what I have for my cup. Okay, so if you want, you can trace out. For those of us that will be making use of yoke, so what you have to do is just trace out here. Use your cup. I may not get it right though, and then you trace out like this. I may not get it right, but this is, can you see? So but I'm working with this, so this is going to extend all the way to here. I hope this explanation is clear. So please, you can rewatch these videos to see what I have done. Feel free to ask questions if you have any. So on the side, which is the armhole side, I am going to come down here by half an inch. You can also do 0.75 inch or 1 inch. Okay, I believe most of us, we've seen corset dresses that the sleeve, which is the net part, is on its own. Okay, that is around the armhole. You have like 1 inch above here, which is going to be net, and then you now attach your sleeve to that net. You must have seen it. But this particular corset I'm making doesn't have sleeve. It's going to have a strap. So I'm going to come down by half an inch, and I'll connect it this way. Look at the, I'm slanting it. It's going to be slanted. So I'll slant it and mark it this way. Can you see what I have? Now this bust line, we've not done any tightening there. I can decide to come in here. This part is optional. You can come in here from this line, bust line, and come in by half an inch. This is half an inch here. When you come in by half an inch, you are going to connect it to the waist. This part is optional. There are so many drafting techniques out there. Some days I don't make use of this part, some days I make use of it. So it totally depends on your preference. You can decide to use it, you can decide to ignore it, which means I do not need this part. At this point, I don't need this part. Okay, this pattern is ready. The front part is actually ready at this stage. So what we are going to do next is to cut out. Okay, but before I cut out, I'm going to use this to trace out for the back. Okay, because I don't want to start drafting a fresh pattern for the back. I have a new pattern, a fresh pattern underneath. So this pattern here is for the back. Okay, and to trace out, because this table I'm working on is not so stable. If I'm tracing out, it will be shaking. Okay, so what I will do is to explain to us the part I'm going to trace out. So I'll be tracing out the chest line, which is like this way. I'll trace out the chest line. Well, I'll just do it on camera. You all can make do with it. The key thing here is for you to be seeing what I'm doing. I'll also trace out the waist. I'll trace out the full length. So please, if you watch this video to this point, please subscribe. Don't forget to share it so that a lot of creatives, so these creatives can see it. Okay, you can share it on your sewing groups, your WhatsApp. So I'm tracing out. I'll trace out the center front too, because this pattern I didn't place it to be straight. So I'm going to trace out the center front. And I'm done. So I am done tracing. Remember, I traced out the chest line, the hem, the waist, and then the side. Okay, I'm also going to trace out, just make a slight marking here, because this part is must align with the back. Okay, so I'm going to remove it. So later I'll do my markings, and then we will come back and do alterations for the back. But for now, let's finish up with the front. So the next thing for us to do is to cut out. Like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you want a yoke, this is your yoke. Okay, just all you have to do is just trace out like this and cut on your net. This very part, this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to cut out. So this is what I have after cutting out the front. So the next thing we are going to do is to work on the back. I've gone ahead to trace out the lines with my pencil. So remember, when we drafted the front, the actual waistline was 7.75. So I just want to refresh our memory on what we did from the front, so that we'll get to understand it better now. So, and on this part, I've taken out, I took out half an inch on the front pattern. So 7.75, I took out half an inch. Remember, what we have at the front is what we also transferred here for the half scale. Okay, so we've already tightened the waist on the front pattern, which is also applicable to this back pattern. On the bust line, which is the chest line, we tightened by half an inch, which is also applicable to this back pattern. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now, remember this line here, remember I came down from the chest line by half an inch, so that is this line we have here. So on this part, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is here, and then I'm going to maintain this part. I'm going to maintain this part, so I'm going to connect it this way. You can connect it in a straight line too. It must not be curved. I'm just trying to find a perfect curve. Yeah, this is okay. So I'm going to maintain here and then here by 1 inch. So this is what I have for the back. Now we've done our tightening, so I'm going to open up the back by, I can decide to open up the back by 2 inches. Okay, on the waistline, I'll do 2 inches. Okay, so 2 inches here, 2 inches here. Please note that you can decide to open up the back by, you can do 2 here, 1 here, or 1.5. You can also do the same thing here. What you did on the waist, you can repeat it on the hem. Then this upper part, you can open it up by 2.5 inch or 2 inches. It depends on, or you can use the same measurements all through. So but for me, I'm going to use the same measurements all through. So I have 2 inches here. From the center back, I came in by 2 inches, and here I came in by 2 inches. Here the same thing. So I'm going to connect in a straight line. So the back is the easiest of this, so it's not difficult to do the back. All you have to do is just trace out from the front and you are good to go. So this is what we have for the back. Okay, this shaded part, I do not need this shaded part any longer. Okay, so this is my new center back, and this is the side back SB. Okay, this is the hem and this is the up. So I can just hem, label it so that you know. So this is what we have for the back, and the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out. So the back is the simplest of it all. So after cutting out, we are still going to align it to make sure that everything matches up. We are not going to leave it like this with holes that everything is going to align. So we are still going to match it up so that we'll be sure that everything aligns perfectly well. So remember, this is for my clients. Okay, I am making it for my clients, so we use the actual measurements. So I'm done cutting out for the back, so I'm going to bring in the front so that we align it together. After cutting out, this is what we have. So now to align this, there are two ways. You can either measure, you can bring in your measuring tape and measure what you have from this point. This is the back. Measure what you have from here to here. Okay, and then you measure this way. You bring it to the back, and then you measure so that you'll be certain that it aligns, because all of them, both of them must align. So if you look at mine now, I think it is not aligning, but this way is not as certain as the second technique. So the second technique, this is 14.5 inch, but I don't think I have up to 14.5 inch from here if I have to align, measure it this way. So that's why I say that this method is not as accurate. So the second way is to glue it together or gum it together. You bring in your masking tape and you start gumming it together, making sure that the waist aligns. From the waist, we are going to glue this part. From this part, then you introduce this other part. Just make sure it aligns. But basically, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut it out. Remember, we are adding seam allowances, and corset is not meant to be too long. So the important part of this alignment is that when you are sewing, make sure that the half length, the waist of both front and back matches. So once this part matches, if there is an excess here, you can trim out. If there is shortage from the back and there is excess at the front, you trim out the side of the front so that it aligns with the back. The same thing is applicable to this part too. So automatically, this is the drafting of the transparent cupped corset or dartless corset. As you can see, we didn't take in any dart. So basically, this is the end of our drafting class. Please, if you've watched this video to this point, kindly subscribe. Thank you for watching up to this point. Thank you for your likes, your comments. I sincerely appreciate it. So in our next video, we'll be transferring this to, or in our next class, we'll be transferring this to fabric, which is our corset mesh. I'll be showing us the materials we'll be using anyway. So we'll transfer it to our corset mesh and then we'll sew it together. So thank you for stopping by on my channel. See you in my next one. Bye.